to thank all of you for your willingness to take on public service. But with the question I have is, many of the politicians today have made a career out of public service. And Bill Driscoll's holding the microphone. He's already addressed this to some degree. But my concern is, and my question is, how long do each of you think it will take you in the Congress to implement some of the programs and ideas and take on the deficit before you come back into the public sector? Thank you.
Wait, excuse me, you said before you come back into the public sector?
I'm into the private sector.
Got it, thank you. I think there is a certain reality to being a freshman congressman in Washington, D.C. And my focus is going to be to identify issues that are critical importance to this district, critical importance to these communities, that match my background, roll up my sleeves, and focus on moving the needle on those items. And specifically, again, I've talked about this quite a bit tonight, it's the natural resources. We're going to have 4 Republicans in this area: Kathleen Morris Rogers, Jamie Hurd Butler, Doc Hastings, any one of us who's going to be laser focused on this. That is a mass to be able to actually begin to move the needle and make progress. In terms of how long I think it makes sense to be in Congress, I don't see how you can maintain a pace and a focus on the constituents for more than 8 or 10 years. I just don't see that. And you got to be focused, you got to be working as hard as you can for the constituents. And so my guess is 8 or 10 years.
Well, I promised my wife when I started in this business that it wouldn't consume my life, but to some extent it has. So how long it's going to take to change the world, I don't know. I think that, if you look back over history, the real effective congressmen are able to get to positions of influence and power fairly rapidly, within 8 years or so. Those that are more anonymous, they could be in there for 100 years and not make an impact. So I would focus on a length of time in Congress. It would probably be 8 to 16 years, something like that. I should know, you should know, within the first two or three terms, whether or not I'm going to be a person of substance or not. I believe I will be. That remains to be seen.
Well, this does get down to term limits, and I'll tell you this. I'm certainly in support of term limits. I would be in favor of 6 terms for Congress, 2 terms for a senator. That's 12 years in either house. The truth is, I believe that is the right mix to keep a healthy balance of checks and balances between the presidency. But here's what I'm most excited to talk to you about as a way of answering your question for how quick we can be effective. You've never seen this before in modern military or modern political times, and that is, never before have we had such a big freshman and potential for sophomore class in the history of modern politics. And the ability for us to caucus together gives us an opportunity to do something that I've been advocating in lieu of term limits. And then there's this seniority rule changes. My seniority rule changes would advocate this. If you run for 3 terms and you decide to run for a 4th term and are elected, you automatically go down to 0 seniority and no longer have the ability to be on the top or lead a committee or subcommittee. As a result, they're going to see a lot of equity come back, more importantly, a lot of competition come back to our congressional ranks. And so I'm happy to pitch that. The final thing in terms of being able to be effective very quickly, I think comes down to being measurable, which is why I put out my pledge to come back to you once a quarter in every county. But more importantly, before the quarter begins, state publicly on my website a list of quantifiably measurable goals that we will submit to you, that we will achieve that coming quarter. That way, at the end of the quarter, when I come back here and you have a chance to hold me accountable, you can do so with the measurables I provided and beat me over the head with them if I haven't gotten the job done. That way you can know very quickly whether or not I'm being effective for you. Thanks.
Again, I'm following Jesse, and I agree with him on the term limits. I do think you need to have a certain amount of time to make any kind of difference. And like Jesse was saying, we are a wave of representation that's coming to the Congress. And the more people who are focused on liberty, and the more people who are focused on reducing the size and scope of government rather than growing it, At some point, maybe we won't be needed as much, but right now, we need every man on deck to fight as hard as we can against the statists who want to grow government. And I'm putting myself out there and saying, look, I'm going to take a pay cut, essentially, to serve you, to fight for you. I'm offering myself up. As long as I'm doing what you want, and I'm being responsive and making sure that the government is not running rampant all over your private property rights, then I should be there as long as you want me there. But I will serve you as long as you want me to serve.